everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today we are continuing on with Emma from Wow. Okay, hold on.
Hey, we did it already.
It's hard saying two names back to back when this is the book title. So I want to say we're talking about Emma with Emma from Emma by Emma,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barely Bookish podcast, where we discuss beautiful classic literature with a different guest every episode. Today we are going to talk about Emma by Jane Austen with Rachel and Bethany from Prince Kai Fan Pod.
Woo! You did it! I can't handle my own intros anymore.
Oh my gosh, I do that all the time where I'm like, hello, welcome. Nope, starting over.
Nope.
All right,
Reboot.
Here we go.
My brain's turning into the what is it, like the Microsoft loading ball, you know what I'm talking about, or is that Mac computers? That's what my brain's doing right now.
That's funny.
Just a tumble in the wind. So we are on to chapter 24. I hope I read those numerals correctly.
I'm trying to get my notes right now, which is why my eyes are wandering all over the place.
You're fine. I did that with I have not at this screen, but the computer you can see behind me. I have two projectors. So every time I'm loading stuff up, it's my head whipping back and forth as I'm looking. I sit way too close to things. I like to be, in a panoramic situation. Is that what I want? Is that the word I'm looking for? I'm not too sure.
Who cares?
It's fine. I like to be fully immersed in my computer screen, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm as close to VR as having a screen will allow me. Did you find?
Okay, yes, my notes are pulled up. Sorry.
Excellent. No, you're fine. So, chapter 24, I think. Frank Churchill is back, and he's there at the same time as Mrs. Weston, and they're cordial, but I am definitely thinking something is up with him and Jane. I can't figure out what it is, though. So here is my theories before we even get into it. He's either slept with Jane, married to Jane, or he proposed, she said no, and now they're arch rivals. I can't figure out what's going on, but it has to be something. Because this is more than just casual hatred.
Right.
So, I don't know. But he's a brat to her for no reason, and she seems super uncomfy about it.
True story. Very bratty for no reason.
Yeah. And originally
of, disruptive context in terms of why he's such a dick.
Yeah. Originally I thought maybe they were secretly married or something.
But then
yeah, and then he's being a whole dick to her, and I'm okay, maybe not. I don't know. So Frank always chooses to walk.
Some people are dicks to their spouses, so
possible.
Yeah, you can't necessarily be oh, well, it couldn't possibly be that, because some people are really rude to their spouses.
Yeah, those guys are always oh, the old ball and chain, but then why'd you marry her?
Right, if she's such a ball and chain, go get you a different something. I don't know.
Yeah, right?
Move on with your bad self since you're so great.
Yeah. Or don't marry and live alone, because obviously you're the torture in this relationship. I'm just throwing it out there.
So true.
So Frank and Mrs. Weston walk up to Emma's together, and Emma is super pumped because she really wanted to see Frank. And I'm no, Emma, no, we don't like Frank.
We don't want you to hang out with Frank. Why is this so difficult for you to understand, girl?
Literally, he's a trash bag. I'm girl, no, don't do that.
Person. We don't like garbage people. That's not.
Yeah, we don't like trash bags. So now all three of them are walking together, and for some reason I keep confusing the Randalls and the Westons, and I cannot remember who Miss Taylor is in relation to these people. I don't remember which one she is, and I keep getting confused.
She's insignificant. She's not an important character. It's one of those things where it's it fills out the story, but she's not a plot driven person where it's man, I really got to know what it is that she's saying. It's if you're reading a book or listening to a book, if you're me, it's if you're reading a book and there's a a huge fight scene and you go out and you don't pay attention for like a minute or two, and then it's like, okay, well, I mean, what did I really miss? They fought, stuff, people fought. Like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know,
Honestly,
that's
that's me
really
with
all
some
it
of
is.
yeah. That's me with some of Mrs. Bates's like dialogue because I'm like, I really don't care. I don't care.
It's like, oh,
It's a
you're still
lot.
talking? Thanks.
Yeah. One of the very few things I'll agree with Emma on, to be honest.
I feel bad for her because she's like a little lonely old lady, right? But like at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm like, nobody asked you. Just be quiet and mind your business.
Yeah, right?
Like if somebody asks you, then you can have an opinion. But guess what? Nobody asked you. So bye.
I just I mean like at some point you have to know that you're like what's that called? Not capitalizing, not monopolizing the conversation, right? Like there's a point where you know.
Some people just fill silence though. Like some people just they can't stand for things to be quiet.
Yeah.
So they just don't deal with it.
Miss Bates was the original podcast host.
Oh, that's funny. I like that. Good job. Good job. Miss
Thank you. That
Bates.
should that should be on my merch. I should
Miss
probably
Bates
write
is
that.
the original podcast.
If you
Uh,
see a t-shirt coming out later with that, just remember this moment, please. So now everybody's walking together. Frank wants to be shown the town and his ancestral home, he says. But I'm like,
I love your notes. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be like looking at you, but my computer is like, you can't really do that while looking at the notes. So I'm just looking at the notes and I know what you look like. It's fine.
it's fine. You just missed the hand gestures, a lot of jazz hands, but it's as if you're actually listening to the podcast, right?
Woohoo!
This is an audio medium. One day, if I ever make a video medium, I will have to have an editor. I will not edit both. That
Oh
sounds
my
like
gosh, right? My husband's like, why don't you put it on YouTube? And I'm like, why don't you shut your pie hole?
it's
I don't hear you
technically
offering to do any work.
right. It's technically on YouTube with my logo, and that's it.
Well, all right. I could do that. I could put it on YouTube with like captions or something, closed captions.
Zencaster did it for me automatically, so like that was
Closed
just like
captions or
no, not Zencaster. Sorry, Libsyn just automatically put it
what's
on.
Libsyn?
It's like Podbean. It's my host.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, they just
Libsyn.
automatic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like $20 a month, and I publish weekly. But it's you can do it by
Oh,
like different
20
levels.
a month.
I have to pay for 20 a month because my episodes are kind of long, and I do it weekly. But you can do less based on the file storage you need.
Gross. No, I like Podbean.
Is yours? How much is yours? Free or
No. I mean, it can be. There are free versions, but like I don't have the free version. Let me see exactly what I get. I've had it for like 2 years. So
fair?
where's my little thingy that says my account? There we go. There we go.
But they
So
also
I currently have the unlimited audio plan. So I can do as much audio as I want per day, week, month, year, or whatever. And it's 108 a year because you pay yearly. So what's that?
I don't know. I can't do math in my head. It's less than
It's
10 a
$9
month.
a month.
Yeah, nice.
Your 20 is like crazy intimidating. I'm like, oh no, thanks. No. I don't even pay for Zencaster anymore. So I
I
just
don't pay
can't
for some.
afford it. So I use the free one.
Yeah, I'm using the free one right now too. But I do have a recording with 3 people, so I don't know if I might have to pay for it. But I think
No,
it
you
was
can do 3 people on free.
oh cool because I know it was
Yeah.
free during COVID for the longest. So
I did it the other day though, and it was fine.
okay, cool.
So it should be fine. Anyways, Emma.
Anyways, so Frank wants to just be shown the town and his ancestral home, which I don't understand because I'm like, weren't you just there? But whatever, none of my business. Emma has decided though that Mr. Knightley is wrong about him. And I'm like, have you not read the book so far, Emma? Mr. Knightley has never been wrong.
It's one
Ever.
of those things like Emma disregards Mr. Knightley so much because she's just like she can't allow him to be right about everything, so she just
Mhm.
doesn't want him to be right about anything. Does that
Listen,
make
I
sense?
love I love this romance that's budding, okay? I think it's funny when the entire time they're disagreeing. I don't know, maybe I'm toxic. I'm not sure, but I think it's fun.
Maybe I'm just toxic. Who cares?
It's fun. Casual, at least I know it. Apparently, Frank does not see the difference in classes and it freaks Emma out a bit, which Emma's classism is kind of funny in this because
Mhm.
she's so extra about it. She's like,
She's like she has like no chill about it though. She's like "Oh, we can't mix the two, and it's like who that like why not?
yeah, right?
Why can't we mix the two? I think it'll be fun. And
Yeah.
she's like, no, it won't be fun. Stop.
Like
Just
suddenly Harriet can't be her friend anymore because Harriet wants to marry a man she's like actually interested in. And Emma's like, no, like I'll never see you again. But
she's
for
such a
why?
brat about it.
Yeah, she really is. And there's just no reason.
Oh,
So
we're at the part where Frank talks smack for no
yeah, when he
reason.
first starts
Oh
being like
my
an
gosh, he's so rude. It's like, what the hell, dude?
I know it's like chill out, buddy.
And nobody asked him. Nobody
Yeah.
asked his opinion. Nobody was even talking about it. It wasn't like in the beginning when people were like, isn't Emma lovely? And then other people could be like, yeah, let me list all the ways that she's lovely. He's just like, you guys, did you see her today? Just
Oh.
like shots fired and shade thrown for no reason.
Yeah, just out of the blue, he turns to Emma and he's like, doesn't Jane Fairfax look ill? Like, dude, what?
It's like, no,
Relax.
no, but you look like an asshole. So
Yeah.
there's that.
And Emma's like, I mean, she did come home because she was literally sick, but whatever. And he's like, I
But
don't know, she has the
whatever.
ugliest complexion I've ever seen. And Emma's like, I wouldn't go that far, but all right.
It's also like when you're sick, I feel like your complexion can look like whatever the that wants to because you're sick. So
Yeah, have you ever been in like a group where you kind of like talk smack and it's like a bunch of coworkers, but you're like lightly talking smack, and then that one person butts in by saying like most outlandish thing you've ever heard, and you have to be like, well, I wouldn't go that far, but all right.
I just
If you're,
like don't. So, okay, here's a little fun fact about me. I'm 32 now, right?
Mhm.
I have had issues in the past with coworkers where like everyone talks smack. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I jump in, and then somehow I'm the asshole. And everyone is like, oh, Bethany was talking smack. And it's like, no, everybody was talking. What? I thought we were just complaining. That's happened to me at 3 different places of employment.
That's fair.
So now people talk smack, and I'm just like, oh, I have to use the restroom. And I just don't come back to the conversation.
That's respectable.
Yeah. I'm basically Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine when I'm at work. Like, nobody needs to know anything about me other than the fact that I'm good at my job.
I love that for you. Okay, one of my toxic traits is that I am anything I will say, I will also say it to the person. And um well
I just don't
that's
say
like
anything to anyone,
yeah, that's
good
fair. That's
or
probably
bad or otherwise.
that's a better way to be. But like someone's trying to get me in trouble by basically we were talking about this person we didn't like and then they were like, "Oh, I told her what you thought." I'm like, "Okay, cool to know." So I walked up to her and I'm like, yeah, I don't like you. I have no reason to be friends with you. I don't really want to be around you." And she was like, oh." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to talk shit about behind your back and not say it to your face." So,
I'm very like I have no problem advocating for myself or for
yeah.
others if I feel that it's necessary, but I've learned that it's better to be, at least for my own personal benefit, like it's better to
Mhm.
be the quiet hard worker
Yeah.
than anything else in the workplace.
Yeah.
Because it's also like when you're a hard worker who's like actively social, then people like make a big deal when anything happens. It's like, oh, you're calling out. And it's like, I'm here 24/7. And it's like,
Mhm.
Yeah, which is why it's like really bad of you to call out all the time. And it's like, this is my first time calling out in 3 years. It's like, well, it doesn't feel like it. That doesn't make it not true. But, but,
Yeah.
but if I'm the quiet hard worker, then my work always gets done. And people don't even notice if I'm not there because they never see me or hear from me, anyways.
Yeah, that's
Right.
how like I feel like that in the latter part of when I work from home and I just get like all my shit done. But my toxic place to be is when I work at the restaurant because like
Yes,
at that point,
restaurants are toxic.
yeah, like and
Yeah.
also I can just
No,
get
I
that
worked
shit
in the
out of the
restaurant
way.
business for 10 years. They are very toxic. I
Yeah.
totally get it.
Yeah, I can
And
get
they
all
have
that out of my vibe and
crazy, there are so
system.
many cliques in restaurants. It's like walking into a high school cafeteria.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
will say, like, for me, like, there are definitely times when I have to, like, tell people that I don't appreciate something they're doing, but
Yeah.
I always do it in a way that's like, I'm basically like, I make myself a puppy. You're not gonna kick a puppy.
Yeah.
Sometimes they might yip at you, and that can be annoying, but you're not gonna kick a puppy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
also have,
respect.
like, a really kind face, so, like, it'll look like you're kicking a puppy if I get sad, just so we know, right? So,
Yeah.
like, when people are rude or inappropriate, I will turn the situation back on them really fast because
Mhm.
I'll just kind of pause and look at them and be like, "Do you think that's appropriate?"
Oh.
So, nobody can see my facial expression except you, but I
Yeah.
can tell you I perfected the sad "don't mess with me" vibes.
See, okay,
So,
here's okay, I can't do that because I have RBF. But I what I found out I could do is that I make men rethink their entire existence by just relaxing my entire face. So I go from like this normal, energetic, to just go,
just like channel your
yeah,
inner
and I
Angela
just
from The
blink at them
Office,
a couple times, and then they rethink what they were gonna tell me, and I'm like,
right?
better answer. I like that one more actually. My
Yeah,
secondary
yeah.
option for dealing with
Quentin is the
customers.
one my husband, he's the one I got that from because he's in the military, and when he's working with his subordinates, he tries really hard to make them think instead of just correcting them. So
Mhm.
he's constantly like, "Do you think that's appropriate behavior?" or stuff like that. And so I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
I'm going to do that too." But to my peers and with sadness. So I'm just like, when they say or do something that's definitely throwing shade, I'm just like, "Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think that's kind?"
I
And then
like
it's
that.
like, "Oh, you're so naive. You expect everybody to be kind." And it's like, "Yes, that's me." I would rather they think that like I'm naive than they think that I be trash talking.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, "Yes, I'm naive." And then I get home and I'm like, "Quentin, listen, okay?" And Quentin is the best. My husband is the best because he like there's a reason that I taught him like what gossip and the tea is, right? Because
Mhm.
he doesn't participate in it, but he thinks it's fun. So he gets like super invested and involved. So I'll be
Mhm.
like, and then she'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, she did not. And he loves to do the snap thing. Like, that is his
Good.
favorite thing, is the snap thing. So he'll be
Excellent.
like, oh, she doesn't even know who she's messing with, does she? Not my girl. And he'll do this to like people he doesn't really know that well. So, like, all the old ladies at the dog park that just adore him because he's young and attractive, and they're like talking smack and drinking the tea, and he's over there just like, say, preach it, girl, preach it. Just like,
Amazing.
I love it. I love it. It's a good person to vent to.
Yeah. Yeah. My
Hmm.
boyfriend has golden retriever energy. So,
That's
you
me.
know, yeah, I love that for you both because, we worked at the same place for a really long time. And all the time it would be like, no one tells him the tea because they're like, they know he's too kind. And he'll just be like, oh, I feel really bad for them. That's like really hard to go through. And they'd be like,
Yep.
but she's a bitch. And he'd be like, but like, imagine how difficult that is. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yep.
okay.
That's
So I
me
had to come,
100%. People
so I had to
talk
come
smack and
home.
I'm like, "Oh, isn't that sad?" Like, I remember at one of my last jobs, someone was complaining that somebody was like super, super bad at their job
Mhm.
and that she'd been there for like 20 years and that she hated her job. And I was like, "That makes me sad." And she's
Yeah.
like, "What?" And I'm like, that she would work a job for so long that she didn't like. She's bad at it. Maybe she doesn't think she is. Do you think
Yeah.
she is? I don't know well enough. Yes, you do. You work here. I really don't. I am not a superior. I am her peer, and it is not my place to judge her. And then people are just like, oh. It's the same as like when I meet people that are like rude religious, because I don't have any problem with
Mhm.
religion. Some of my
Yeah.
closest friends are religious, but like there are people who are rude about it, and there are people
Mhm.
who are just like, oh yeah, I like God. He's cool. And I can always tell because like the rude ones will be like throwing shade at like people in the LGBTQ community. And I just throw it back and I just look at them and I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm really glad it's only up to to God to judge them and it's not our place. So we don't have to deal with it.
I
And then
love
they're
that.
just like, well, but I don't like them. You know, that doesn't matter because God is the one who's going to take care of that. And you just need to leave it in his hands.
I like you almost
But
saying Jod instead.
I did, yeah, because I was gonna say something else because if anybody cares, I'm Jewish, so we already have like different conversation topics than a lot of Christians do, which isn't like a bad thing, but it definitely causes a language barrier sometimes where I'll do or say something and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, okay, Jews don't really care about that." Like we've had people chasing us for like centuries. We
Mhm.
dial it back. We dial it back real quick. You know what Jews are? We like food and we like discount shopping, okay? That's my whole
The most important things in life, to be honest.
right. Like that's us. And I like it that way.
Listen, every time there's never been a time where I saw a Jewish like holiday that didn't have what looked like delicious food. And I was just
We
like,
have
how do I
such
get
good
invited?
food.
Yeah,
It's just
right?
like dumplings and potatoes and stuff. Like it's
Which are
great.
the
It's like
best.
all carbs. It's like just tons of
So,
carbs.
so good. Oh my god. I know. I need to figure out how to get my hands on some of it because I don't have Jewish friends. So
Just like Google recipes and have fun with it.
I also hate cooking. That's the biggest problem in my life is I love eating, I hate cooking. So sometimes I
That's
could be
fair.
like, boyfriend of mine, look at this delicious recipe.
Well, to find a way to come all the way to Las Vegas for Hanukkah, and you can
There we
eat with me
go.
and my sisters.
If I can figure out, like, listen, if I next time I figure out, oh, I've never been to Vegas. If I get to Vegas, I'll just be like, hey, I'm coming. I've
Yes,
arrived.
yes, I have arrived. You can just hopped off the plane in Las Vegas.
Oh my god. Quick last side tangent before we go into this. Okay. Before we get back into this.
Okay.
Daniel went to Vegas for our friend's 21st birthday months after I came back from London and I went to Paris. So as I sent him photos of like the Eiffel Tower, he would FaceTime call me and be like, "Mini Eiffel Tower." And that was our like big thing while he's in Paris is every time he'd send me like an update, it would be, "Look at the small one, the small version," you
That is
know?
so funny.
And it was a
Yeah,
delight.
Quentin and I were driving when we first got here, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try and like see if I can notice all of them."
Mhm.
And he was like, "Notice all of what?" And I was like, "The miniatures." And he was like, "What miniatures?" And I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And so I was pointing out like, there's the Statue of Liberty, there's the New York City skyline, and he was just like, "How did I not know this existed?" I'm like, "I don't know. They talked about it on Friends and in National Treasure." Like,
Yep.
this is why I know about it.
And
Um,
Despicable Me.
and just like exactly. Uh, that's
The
when I got
small.
to tell him that there isn't one Statue of Liberty. There's three.
Mhm.
There's one here. There's one in France, and there's one in New York City. Well, Ellis Island outside of New York City, but it's New York City, right? Like, come on. All of New York is New York City if you don't live there. And then if you
Yep.
do live there, you're on like a really big high horse about like, well, that's not New York City, that's Manhattan. Well, that's not Manhattan, that's Soho. Like, okay.
I don't know what any of that means, to be honest. I know there's technically different boroughs. I don't know what the difference is. I don't really
I know
care.
if I go to New York, I'm going to Cornelia Street and I'm living my best Taylor Swift life. I'm sorry, my best Dr. Taylor Swift life.
She's a doctor?
She
What?
just got her doctorate.
Oh, and what?
Yeah, she did like a 20-minute speech and I was crying the whole time. It was beautiful. It was pure magic.
Is that okay? I saw her like dressed up in
Yeah,
like
yeah. She
regalia.
got her doctorate in fine arts, and then she also did like the commencement speech at the ceremony. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw something about that. I was like, oh, I don't know what that's about. And then I just scrolled away. I don't know. I
Well,
just
you're
like,
not like a massive Swiftie, right? So it's like, what do you care?
yeah.
Right? But like
I
I
just,
care.
I figured she was just giving
Probably
like a
too
speech
much.
for some sort. I didn't
I
realize
mean,
she got
she
a
gives great
doctorate.
speeches. So anyways, you know who
Anyways.
also gives speeches? Frank, and nobody asked him for a speech, but he's like, let me educate you guys on what this person looks like.
Hmm.
Do you like how I did that?
I love
I
that.
brought us
Thank
back.
you. Good
I always bring
transition.
I'm really good at bringing us back. So what do you think of Frank throwing so much shade right now? Do you think he's just like trying to be a part of the tea, or do you think he's legit like, damn, what's up with her?
I feel like he's being an asshole just to be an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I think
I
he
do know
knows
what
that
you
he's
mean.
wrong. Yeah. Like, I really can't. I don't understand what's going on because I think he knows it's wrong, but I can't figure out why he's being a dick to her. Like, I feel like there's a reason.
I think he's trying to be dismissive of her. You know, like when you talk down on someone so that other people will think poorly of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it's like he focuses his attention solely on her so much. You know what I mean? Like, every interaction comes around to her and him just being a dick to her.
Hmm.
I don't get it. So I'm hoping that like our next reading we'll figure out more because I'm like, what's going on? I don't know.
Right.
So
Anyways.
yeah, Frank says he won't say if he knows Jane because it's up to the ladies to decide that type of stuff. Apparently, because he
Of
won't
course.
say like how close
Oh,
they
I
are.
could never participate in such gossip. Dude, you started it.
Yeah,
But
and then he gets
whatever.
right back to roasting her, and he's
Yeah.
like, "She's the worst. She's terrible." So then we are on to chapter 25. The next day, out of the blue, Frank decides to go to London for, quote, a haircut, unquote. Suspicious. Because I don't think he was
Don't
getting a
be
haircut.
suspicious. Don't
I
be
think,
suspicious.
okay, I really think he bought the piano that we're about to learn
I
about.
I love anytime someone is like going to do something in a
Mhm.
book or TV show or movie, because most people are just like, "Oh yeah, have fun," but they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to go and do this thing with the thing at the other thing." And it's like, "You guys, come on. It is not that hard to be like, "Hey, I got shit to do," and just bounce."
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're drawing more attention to yourself by going through this like elaborate lie that makes no sense.
exactly. He could have just said he had business in London to attend to immediately. And
Right.
he's like, a
Exactly.
haircut! London only.
It's like, what are you doing today? Haircut. But you just got a haircut. Yeah, but they like did a bad job. Where are you going? This one place downtown with the people that work there and cut hair. And it's like, if you had just said like, I gotta go and left it at that, it would have been fine.
Yep.
But
Instead, he's
instead,
like,
you're
oh,
super awkward.
yep. Yeah, really
Okay,
awkward.
so he goes to get a haircut,
Yep.
and Emma is like, ugh, how rude.
Hmm. She thinks it's like super inconsiderate because like he's only in town for 2 weeks and he's supposed to be like hanging out with his parents, like his well stepmom and his dad. And she's like, he didn't even check in. Like that's kind of messed
Yeah.
up. And
I
then
do like that, like, Emma has convinced herself that Frank is in love with her.
yeah,
Even though she, like, doesn't really care, she's convinced herself that he's in love with her. And then on top of that, Mr. Knightley is like, I don't like him. And she's like, what? So what? And it's like, girl, you know you care. Don't even.
yeah,
You know you care. You
yes.
care a lot.
And the other thing I think is kind of funny too is it's literally like the whole reason she's convinced is just because she went through like being freaked out about finding out that Elton had a crush on her. So now she thinks
Yeah.
like any man
She thinks,
has
like, every man must have a crush on her, except Mr. Knightley.
yeah.
That never
Uh-huh.
occurs to her. Girl, where are you living?
Dude, the next couple interactions with Mr. Knightley and Emma, top tier. I have a lot of thoughts. But Mr. Knightley's like, yeah, I still don't like this dude. He's kind of a garbage person. Like, what kind of person just runs to London for no reason? And like, is this frivolous? I guess no, not the word I want. Is that the word? Frivolous?
I mean, yeah, it's nonsense. It's silly. It's unnecessary. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
He's just like
frivolous
wasting
is a good.
money, wasting everyone's time, and he's like, I don't really like that. And then,
Well, people
oh
like
sorry,
what they like, and they don't like change. And so, if someone thinks it's frivolous, then it's frivolous, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm sure when my husband and I first met, he was like, "Why do you spend so much money on books? Like, that's such a silly thing to pay for." And it's like, why do you spend $75 on a video game that you only play for 2 days? That seems like a silly thing to spend money on too. But here we are. I work for my money. You work for yours. We get to do what we want. Like,
yep,
but
yeah.
we each think things are frivolous.
See, I can't even talk. We fully bought. Well, Daniel fully bought because I have a hard time spending money on myself at all. I don't mind spending money on him as much, but like I cannot spend money on myself. It's just something I've never really been able to do. He bought us two Xboxes, two brand new Xboxes, three copies of Elden Ring, so that we could all play
That
together.
game intimidates me. I don't even want to play it.
It's really, really fun if you're playing with someone else. Like, I can't play this game by myself, no matter how much I like it. But playing it with someone else, it is a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. But that's because I got a build that I care about. But we were originally just playing on his Xbox, and then I built a character on his Xbox. And I was like, this game is kind of fun. So then for my birthday, he bought me the Xbox Series S.
That's like Quentin. Like I saw him playing Valheim, which is this beautiful Viking game where the graphics are just absolutely gorgeous. They're stunning.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. And the next day he was like, I bought it for you. Do you want to try it? And I was like, it's like a $30 game. And he's like, well, I got it for 15. And I'm like, that still seems like a lot of money, but sure. And I started playing it. I played it for like 2 hours. I was like, this is such a fun game. I love it. The next day, Quentin came home with a desk, a new computer, modem and monitor, a keyboard, and a talking headset so we could all play together. And I was like, I said it was a fun game. And he's like, we're doing this. We are one of those couples now that plays video games together. Look, your desk even matches mine. I was like, oh my God. Okay.
The
But
energy
he
I
was
love.
well, now we're starting to play Forest, which is a
Mhm.
lot of fun, but also like much harder than Valheim was.
Yeah.
But like my husband is the same way. He's like, I can't believe you'd spend $18 on a book, and then he'll drop like $300 so we can play video games together because he thinks it's cool. And it's like, okay, but my $18.99 on a hardcover is where we're really crossing the line.
So another last side tangent, okay? My Daniel is like big into the one wheels. So we like adventure around on one he adventures around on one wheels a lot. And so for New Year's Eve, for some reason, 2 years ago, he bought me a scooter, like a little electric scooter that went like 20 miles an hour and had like a 10-mile range so that I could join them. And I was in love with the scooter. I was like, this is the best. Now I can like enjoy it. But the problem is that it takes like 8 hours to charge and no suspension, and it's doesn't like, so I can't go like long range like they do because theirs takes like
Right.
an hour to 30 minutes. So his solution was for our anniversary this year, he bought me a brand new like $1,000 scooter. I think it was probably around there. That has suspension. It's got like a 25-mile range. It goes 30 miles an hour. Like I had to put full body pads on and a snowboarding helmet to ride the scooter. Yeah, because that's the kind of boyfriend he is. He's like, okay, well, I really enjoy this, so let's just deck you out so that you can come. And
No,
we
my
love
husband's the
that.
same way. I'm like, that looks cool. And then he's like, let's get like as deep dived into it as possible. And it's like, I said it looked cool.
Now he just found out that they released a new version of my scooter. He's like, we may just have to upgrade you. I'm like, chill, chill. No, it's
Like,
fine.
I'm still adapting to this one.
Yeah, I was like, we're good. It's still great. Like, we've only had this scooter for a few months. We don't need to buy another one, you know? And
Right?
he's like, we could though. And I'm like, we could not though.
I was like, how about you text me a picture of a scooter and I'll still say thank you.
Hmm, hmm. Speaking of
Um,
extravagance,
yeah,
Frank.
speaking of extravagance, Frank. Oh, Frank.
Oh, Frank. So he brings up that there's, I guess, a family of farmers that are now inviting good society to their home. And Emma's like,
I love
absolutely not.
Emma is like, you guys are not in the right class to be having parties at your house. And they're
Yeah.
like, you're not invited. She's like, excuse me? Uh, I wasn't going to come anyways,
Yeah.
but how dare you?
Hmm.
It's like, did you ever watch The Office?
Not, I've seen a couple episodes.
Oh,
I
well,
don't.
Mindy Kaling, I love her, first of all. She's amazing. I just adore her. But there's like one scene where people are talking and they're like, does anybody have any questions? She's like, yeah, I have a question. How dare you? Like, so I
Mood.
just heard Emma, like, I heard Mindy in Emma's voice, just like, how dare you?
Love that.
Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, but
honestly.
I love that they're like having a party and Emma's like, ugh, farmers having a party and they're like, you're not invited. And she's like, what?
Yeah. What? To me, it's kind of like imagining that like your friend that has a studio apartment isn't allowed to invite people over to their home because they're like, how dare you be social and have friends?
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's the equivalent of like one person, like Quentin and I have a home.
Hmm.
Okay. We have a nice home. Okay. Not to like brag or anything. I don't mean nice, like we have a nice home, but like we have furniture and like all of the things you would expect to find in an adult home, like cups and coasters and clean stuff.
Hmm.
But then we had friends that were like, oh, we should hang out at so and so's house. And I'm like, no, I'm not going over there. It's dirty. They don't clean it. There's never anything to eat or drink because they're just like, oh, we just have water, but we don't have any clean cups. So you can wash yourself a cup. And they have a dog that they don't train who poops and pees everywhere and they don't clean it up. So it stinks as soon as you walk in the house. Like, no,
Yeah.
come to my house. Like, no judgment. Live in whatever kind of filth and squalor you want. But I don't want to go to your house and sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
So why won't everybody just come to my house where it's clean?
Fair.
Oh, your house is like being at a grown up's house. Exactly. We are. We're in our 30s. All right. We're too old for this shit. All right. When you're like 19 and 20, then we can go hang out in somebody's studio apartment and be like, haha, you're so gross. Isn't that funny? But like, no, we're grown ups now. We go to the grown
Hmm.
up apartment, we behave ourselves. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Me with my beanbag chair.
I love it. Have a beanbag chair. Just don't let your cat pee on it and then be like, do you want to sit down?
Oh my god,
No,
I went
your
to a
cat
friend's
peed
house.
on it. I'm not sitting there.
Yeah, I went to a friend's house previously where they just like didn't clean up after at their dog peed on the
Yes.
floor. And I'm like, how do you live? Your house
You
smells
smell
like,
it. Like as soon as you walk in the door,
yeah.
it's like all you can smell. The last time was bad because the last time they were like, we cleaned up before you guys got here. And so Quentin and I were like, when?
Yeah.
Because it still stinks. I still see like dog poop in places that there shouldn't be dog poop. You
Hmm.
still have the kitchen full of dirty dishes. Like, oh, well, we like wiped down this one counter. Like, this is how bad this girl's house is because it's a girl, her brother, and another friend of ours.
Hmm.
This is how bad this is, and not to like be sexist, but this is a girl.
Hmm.
Quentin won't go to the bathroom in their house.
Hmm.
He stands up. He's a boy. He doesn't even have to sit down,
Hmm.
and he still won't go to the bathroom there. Which tells me, like, the one time I was like, I have to pee. I walked in there, I turned right back around and walked back to the living room. And they were like,
Yeah.
you don't have to pee. I was like, nope, I changed my mind. Moving
I
on.
I couldn't be friends. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't do it. Like,
Personality wise, they're great. And you know what's funny is they're not like poor. They have money. She teaches fifth grade. Like she's okay, granted, I know teachers don't make a lot of money, but like she's not like poor by any means. She has like 55 a year. Like that's enough to clean up after your dog and have a clean bathroom.
yeah. Mm,
So I do judge them,
yeah,
which is
I
why when
would.
they're like, "Do you guys want to come over?" I'm like, "Do you want to come over?"
Mood. Big
And then
mood.
they're like, "Why do you guys always want to sit outside? Because at least there it's clean, kind of. Because they don't pick up poop in the yard either. But
Oh
it's
God.
like cleaner than inside the house, and there's like
Yeah,
air and stuff." We took a real tangent, and I'm sorry for that. But like that's the
that's fine.
equivalent to me. The equivalent is like one person has a nice home, one person has like, they just don't clean up after themselves very much, and yet people are like, let's go to the non-clean place, and it's like, why?
Yeah,
Why would we do that? No, I'm not doing that.
right. Yeah, no. Emma's just like she's acting like this is an unclean house. You know what I mean? Like these people are
Yeah.
just like, oh, we came into money and now we're like building additions onto our house, and Emma's like disgusting.
Well, and Emma is like, I couldn't find the exact phrase I wanted to say, but
Mhm.
Emma is just like on her little high horse.
Yeah.
She's on her little high horse. She's way too good to be hanging out with these people.
Hmm.
She so is beneath her class by even acknowledging that they're having a party. And then
Hmm.
she's like, makes such a big deal about the fact that they didn't invite her that now they are like, fine, you can come. And she's like, well, now I have to go. I can't
Yeah.
not be involved. Everyone I know is going to be there. And it's like,
Hmm. I just think it's funny that Emma like picks and chooses when she cares, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Because, like, if Harriet had a party on her farm, like, if she had let Harriet marry the person she wanted to, she would be a farmer's wife. So,
Hmm.
if Harriet had a party on her farm, would Emma not go?
I know. Like Emma's like the only person that cares though, because she's like the richest person in town, and everybody else is kind of like, whatever, it's fine. We don't need to really care. And Emma's like, we need to
Party.
care.
Like, let's just go have fun.
So Emma ends up agreeing to go because she can't stand to not be involved. And then Mr. Woodhouse is like, hey, you should come home early, so that you don't catch a cold or get tired. And everyone else is like, that's gonna be like really rude though. And Mr. Woodhouse is like, okay, I guess, but like try and come home early anyways.
It's the equivalent of like being on the phone with your friends and being like, yeah, of course I want to go. Let me just talk to my mom. And then like you cover the mouthpiece and you're like, Mom, I am not going.
Hmm.
Mom, can I go? No. Sorry, mom said I can't go. And then you hang up the phone. You're like, thanks, mom.
Yeah. Truly though, he's like, you need to come home early because otherwise you'll get sick. And she's like, yeah, oh my god, I would get sick. Like I really do need to come home early. Maybe I'll just stop in really quick, but like I'm gonna break my curfew if I don't leave right now. I'm gonna be in so much
Oh
trouble.
man, I'm not now because I'm old enough now that I'm like whatever. But definitely when I was younger, there were times when I like was very unhappy with what I was doing with my time, whether
Hmm.
because I was bored or I just don't like the people or I just like halfway through hanging out with them realized I didn't want to hang out with them anymore. You know? So there were definitely times where I was like, "Oh yeah, well my mom said I need to be home at 7 for dinner, so I'll see you guys later," and I would just leave.
Yeah.
Like now as an adult, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go home. Bye."
Me, it's usually, oh, I gotta get home to my cat.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good one. Yeah, I gotta feed the dogs.
yep. Yeah,
Yep.
my cat's not on an automatic feeder, so but she doesn't eat like in excess, so I can kind of just leave food in her bowl, and whenever she's hungry, she'll have like a little nibble. So
Well, the dogs don't eat in excess, so they have kibble at all times. So, like, there's a bowl of kibble; they can get it whenever they want, and then they get chicken and vegetables twice a day.
mhm,
So, yeah.
yeah,
But I like the concept. I like the concept of like, oh no, I gotta go curfew. I feel like
Curfew.
I'm catching a cold.
It's so drafty in here.
Oh, are the street lights on? Bye.
Bye. When you were a kid and you saw the quality, you're like, oh shit, gotta get
Where you're
home.
like, I'm ready to go. Ready to go. 1, 2. Okay, yep. Street lights. Bye.
Bye. Get get
I
on your
don't
bike.
have to do that now because like I'm an adult, but there are definitely times when I was younger where I was like didn't want to be somewhere, and so I always used my mom. Like there were definitely times when I was like, "Mom, so and so's on the phone. I do not want to go over there right now. I need you to be the bad guy." And my mom would like get super into it. And I would be like, "Hey mom, can I go to so and so's house?" And then I would like hold the phone so they could hear it. So they could hear her, and she'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hell no, I already told you." And she would just like go on this tangent to the point where like when I got on the phone and I was like, I guess I can't go. My friends would be like, "Yeah, no, don't go." And
Your
I was like,
friends all
now
think your mom's ass.
as an adult, I'm like, man, I really shouldn't have been lying to my friends. But like when you're a kid, you don't think that way. You know, you don't want to hurt people's feelings. You don't want to be the loser that didn't want to hang out,
Yeah.
but you just don't want to be there.
Yeah. See,
Mental
my
health is
parents worked
important.
a lot when I was a kid, so I just never went anywhere. And I wasn't like mad about it because I had books and like didn't want to socialize anyway. So a lot of it was like,
I
oh,
always
I,
brought a book with me, and then people would get like so upset if you read the book instead of like hanging out with them. And it's like, okay, well, this is why I just tell you that I want to stay home.
I had those like book nerd friends as a kid. So we like either read books or be writing fan fiction in the same room, and that was like our
No,
ideal hanging outs.
no, my friends didn't read books, and they were always giving me such a hard time about reading. And I was always like, this book is so good, blah, 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 blah. And they'd be like, nobody cares. Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. I also, like, when I was young, didn't realize that, like, people who were my friends weren't really my friends.
I only had like a couple of those growing up. Like I mostly had I didn't have a lot of friends, so I pick and choose them very carefully because I don't like to give energy to people. Like I'm just
That's fair.
yeah, so
Well,
I
like,
would
I feel like there's a difference when you're in school and you
mhm,
have friends versus, like, who you actually have friends with. Like, are they your friends or do you sit with them at lunch?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So stuff like that. But Emma like just wants to be friends with everybody, not because she wants to be friends with everybody, but because she wants everybody to be friends with her, and that's just like it's just very toxic of her,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know?
And that leads us to chapter 26. It's the
Yes.
day of the party. She's at the Cole's
Woo!
house. Interestingly, Mr. Knightley
Knightley's
arrives.
there.
Yeah, same
Oh,
time.
look at that. We arrived at the same time. How strange.
And he's actually in a carriage instead of walking, which I was like, interesting. Interesting that you did that.
I also think it's interesting that Emma's like, who got you this nice piano?
Hmm. Hmm. Because Emma knows that she realistically can't afford it.
Right.
And
And
so,
then because she can't afford it, she didn't grow up playing it, so she's probably not very good at playing it. So what does
yeah.
she need a piano forte for in the first place?
Hmm. And the other thing, too, is that she thinks it had to have been from a secret admirer, not from the people that basically raised her. So
Right.
Emma then goes and says to Frank that she thinks that what happened was not Emma, Jane was like romancing her best friend's now husband, and that's
To
why
try
she didn't go to
and
Ireland.
yeah.
Yeah. And Frank runs with this. He hears this juicy piece of gossip and he's like, I will tell everyone, basically. So, yeah, that's kind of the big part of this like section. And then we get Harriet finally for the first time in like 4 chapters. I was like, girl, where were you? I like
Nobody's been
Harriet.
keeping Emma in line.
I know. Well, at least Harriet, like, even though she doesn't contradict Emma at all, sometimes she'll be like,
She makes her think about her actions, though. Like, she
yeah.
doesn't contradict her, but she makes her really consider her actions. And not necessarily that Emma listens to that kind of redirection, but at least somebody's giving her some kind of redirection, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then Frank decides he's going to get up and go and bully Jane about her hair for some reason. And he like fully goes across the room to like talk to her about her hair and how ugly it is. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you obsessed with her?
Yeah. Because.
Because,
Just because.
yeah, hopefully we'll find out why soon.
Well,
Um,
and the other thing to keep in mind is that, like, no, never mind. We'll get to that. We'll get to it. I think that's more in the next chapter. So,
okay,
moving on.
we'll
Frank
talk
is an
about it.
asshole.
Yes. Mrs. Weston says something to Emma about how she thinks Mr. Knightley brought his carriage for Miss Bates and Jane because he knows that that they can't really afford one. So
Mm-hmm.
that way they could get home nice and safely.
Which
Because
is very kind.
yeah, Mr.
That's
Knightley,
a really sweet thing to do.
I know he's a great guy. Love this for him.
Yeah. Super good guy.
Yeah,
Super underrated, Emma.
absolutely.
Talking to you, girl.
At you specifically.
And
And then Mrs.
then
Weston.
Mrs. Weston is like, oh, I think he likes Jane. And Emma was
Mhm.
like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, she
That's not
freaks
okay.
out,
She
loses her
completely
shit.
flips out. She's like, that is not okay.
Hmm. And then she just straight up roasts Mrs. Bates. She's like, "Yeah, you think
She's
he
so
wants to sit
rude
there?"
to
I
her.
know. He's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
"Yeah." She's like, "Oh, you think he wants to sit there and listen to her all the time, roaming his household?" And I was like, "Yo, chill. Like she did
Right?
nothing to you." And
I'm
then
like looking.
oh yeah, and then
I
she
was going
says,
to look for a specific sentence, but now I can't find it. So never mind.
"Oh, it's okay. If you find it, we'll just edit it in." The power of technology.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You're fine. It's hard on like these platforms to know when to like talk and when not to. You know what I mean? So I always
Well,
struggle with
also, like, as we've discussed before, your chapter numbers are different. So I'm like, I could have sworn it was in this chapter.
yeah. I don't know why our chapters are different. That's really weird.
To make things difficult
Truly.
for us, right?
Truly.
Anyways, go ahead.
God. If I was a vampire, I would have collected all of the original works so I can have the source material instead of unabridged crap or abridged crap, to be honest. That would be my goal in life.
Right,
If I come into money, that's what I'm going to do is I will find the source material of everything and own it.
right. That would be ideal.
Truly.
Oh well, moving on.
Moving on. Emma says that she simply will not believe that Mr. Knightley is interested in Jane, and uh, just yeah tries to shut down Mrs. Weston as best she can. So then, like we get to the singing portion of the evening, Frank decides to start singing with Emma, um, and then Jane Fairfax like starts singing afterwards, and Frank keeps singing with her, but then like Mr. Knightley kind of has to like shut everything down because Frank is being a dick to Jane for no
As he
reason.
often is.
Yeah.
But I did find what I was wanting to say.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, because it's so rude. So this is Jane talking about like how Jane Fairfax would just annoy him, and so like they couldn't possibly be good for each other. How would he bear to have Miss Bates belonging to him? To have her haunting the Abbey and thanking him all day long for his great kindness in marrying Jane. So very kind and obliging. But he always had been such a very kind neighbor. And then she pops in with, for shame, Emma. And I'm like, yeah, for shame, Emma.
For
That is so
shame.
freaking rude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's so bad, you guys.
it is
It's so
so
bad.
bad.
It's so rude. The worst part is her like, oh, so very kind and obliging. Like, just making a complete mockery.
Yep. The for shame Emma gets to
I
me.
know. I love it. It's so
So
good. For shame. But then, yes, shortly after that, we see Frank going back to being the wonderful douche nugget that he is.
Hmm.
And I love that Mr. Knightley is like, all right, I'm done with you.
I know. Mr. Knightley, top tier king energy in this
That
moment.
will do. That will do.
Love it. So then we are on to chapter 27.
Oh,
Uh,
but can we talk real quick about Frank throwing so much shade the last like 3 chapters, and then
mhm.
he's like, "Oh, I should go dance with Miss Fairfax. She's such a languid dancer."
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, what?
sir.
You've been throwing shade. Why are you suddenly like, "Let's go dance, girl"? Like,
I know. And then they like leave and he goes, "Oh, I didn't have to like bear dancing with her, thank God." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Were you not just trying to dance? Like no one said you had to." Like what?
I just like this book could have been called The Hoity Toity Society Assholes, and I would have been fine with it.
Same. The
I would have been
second
fine with
edited version of this title is
it.
in parentheses.
The alternate, the parentheses title, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. Frank's just a big dick in this one for
I
God
mean,
knows
he just
reason.
is like throughout the whole thing. Like he's just not a good guy.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I don't understand it. I don't at all. I have a lot of questions about how we got here.
about
Sorry.
how we got here.
Yeah, why
We may
is it?
never
Yeah,
know.
right. I really hope we find
Okay,
out.
so Harriet, the
Harriet.
return of Harriet.
Yeah. So Harriet comes over and Emma's like practicing playing because at this point she's like, Jane fucking Fairfax isn't gonna be better than me. And
She's like,
she's
she thinks she's so great with her pianoforte.
yeah.
Watch this, Jane. La la la.
Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna practice for an hour a day, every day, and I'm gonna be better than Jane freaking Fairfax.
Yep, that's her whole life ambition.
Yep. I mean, I get it though. If someone spent your entire life comparing you to another person, I would
Yeah,
also probably be like, Jane Fairfax, that name will not be uttered in this household.
yeah. You'll just be like, she thinks she's the bee's knees. Well, I'm the bee's knees.
I am the bees of the knees.
Okay, so I love that Emma tells them to go out with the stepmom. It's just like, be gone, okay?
Yeah.
I am practicing so that I can be better. I mean, be good at the piano,
Well, no,
okay?
so they go out shopping, her and Harriet, and they run
Yeah.
in to Frank and Mrs. Weston, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
yeah,
right. You're right.
I just didn't write that in my notes. My
No,
apologies.
no, no. You're right. I like went to the next line and then forgot about actually reading the book. Um,
It's
so
my notes.
yeah.
The
Sorry. Go
abridged.
ahead. They go shopping.
Yeah, they go shopping because Harriet wants to buy something, and Emma's like, I literally can't let Harriet go alone because she takes like
Mm.
hours to shop and it annoys the shopkeepers. Which, listen, as someone who's undecisive, the only time I'm undecisive in my life is when I'm shopping, and I have to call my siblings and be like, okay, is this cute or is this the ugliest thing you've ever seen on a human being? And they're like, no, you look fine. I don't understand why you do this every time. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
thank you. I see where Harriet's coming from. It is hard to shop alone because I fall into that
I
thing
mean,
too.
it also is like cathartic for some people. Like some people just enjoy like wandering around and shopping and things like that.
Yeah,
So I think this is another moment where it's like kind of judgy
yeah,
of Emma to be like, ugh, she takes forever and she annoys all the shop people. And it's like, okay, you don't know that. Maybe the shop people like to be annoyed because they have bills to pay. And so at
yeah,
least she's buying all their stuff. Like,
yeah.
you know,
Literally, and
but
then like
she doesn't look at it that way.
I know. And Harriet's trying to figure out how she's going to get like these stuff shipped because something she needs at Emma's, the other thing she technically doesn't need there. So she's like, I could just have it shipped home. And
Right.
she's like trying to figure out like, oh, can we separate this? And Emma's like, ugh, just get it both shipped to my house. And Harriet's like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine, whatever. And I just feel bad for Harriet because it's like, okay, now both of these things being shipped to her house is going to take longer instead of her having the ribbon at her house
Right.
and then the other thing delivered because the other thing like is going to need to be shipped in. So I get it, because I also would just be like, oh, okay, sure, fine, whatever, just do that, I guess.
Right, but if you can't do that, then who really cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, poor Harriet. Harriet deserves better.
Harriet deserves a better friend.
Yeah. But then they run into Frank and Mrs. Weston,
Mhm.
and they're Frank is like, "Oh yeah, I reminded her that she agreed to go over to um the Bates house today." And Mrs. Weston's like, "I didn't think I did, but he said I did, so here we are going." And then Frank's like, "I don't want to go though, so can I join your group?" And Mrs. Bates is like, "What?"
It's like, sorry, we're full. Pretty
Yeah.
sure we're full. Like positive that we're
Yeah.
full.
And then like
Take
Emma gets
take the hint,
talking.
we're full.
Yeah. And then they
Yeah.
end up talking Emma into going, and Emma's like, "Okay, I guess I'll come, sure." And then we get,
I think Emma is like it's Emma has FOMO.
yeah, yeah, truly. Then like the next thing is they like meet up with Mrs. Bates, and she like nonstop talks for like 3 pages, and they're just giant paragraphs of text. I'm like, I have no idea what we're even talking about right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's fine, it's whatever.
She just like you said earlier, she monopolizes the conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she doesn't do it to be mean, at least, which is good. She just kind of does it to talk. I don't know. But then we are on to chapter 27. So apparently, Frank and Jane were left in a room together alone at some point, which I didn't really
Mhm.
understand what happened here. How we like switched. I don't know if I missed something, which I probably did, but suddenly they were left home alone, and like Jane is like pointedly not looking at Frank with her like back stiff, her back to him, playing on the piano, and Frank is like fixing spectacles of Mrs. Bates. And I'm just not really sure what happened here.
I think it's one of those things where it's like Frank likes to get attention,
Yeah.
but he doesn't always go about it in the right way.
Hmm.
So he's just like, well, if I do this, someone will notice me. And it's like, do you want them to notice you for that, though?
Yeah. Notice me,
Yeah.
senpai.
Notice me, please.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so, like, just, it's super awkward when they walked in. It seems like they walked in on, like, the two of them yelling at each other or something, to be honest.
Right.
So, then he, like, starts picking on Jane again immediately. And, luckily, though, to interrupt this entire facade, Mr. Knightley, like, happens to walk by on his horse. And Miss Bates is like, "Oh, I'll go and yell out to him really quick." So she yells out to him, and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And Miss Bates is like, "Oh, like a bunch of your favorite people are here." And he goes, "Well, I'm on my way to town." And he's like, "Okay, well," she's like, "Jane is here, Emma's here." He's like, "Maybe I could stop in for 2 minutes." And then she's like, "And also, Frank," and he goes, "I actually really have to go into town. I don't even think I can spare a single minute, so I gotta go. Goodbye."
Bye. My bad.
Yeah, and then he like starts paying compliments to Jane for no reason, like while they're like shout yelling, like
Yeah.
asking how
Which is
Jane's
always
doing.
the proper way to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Because also they're like all trying to talk over each other. It's not just that they're like shout yelling, they're all talking over each other.
Hmm. Hmm. And Emma's like, "Oh, why the fuck is he giving Jane all these compliments though?" And I just think it's so, her inner monologue is so good in these like last couple chapters we read. She's like,
Because
what is he even doing? What?
she's like, there's times in these chapters that we're discussing today where it's really hard to like her as a protagonist.
Yeah, for sure.
She can be very annoying.
Yeah. So we are on to chapter 29. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. These Roman numerals still struggled.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I forgot you were struggling with those before. Yeah, we're on chapter 29.
Yeah.
2x's is 20. 1 plus 1x. So x minus 1 is 9. So 29.
Yeah,
I'm
the
getting that, like,
nine.
I'm to the point now where, like, I'm just used to doing it, so it makes sense to me. But I
Mhm.
also get that it doesn't make any sense.
Like I'm getting used to it more like now that I've been reading a lot of classic literature, but for
Right.
some reason 4, 5, good. I got it figured out. But
Right.
I don't know why, but when I see an X, my brain's like, what are we working with here? What is this number? Like I cannot for some reason figure out that it is 10. I don't know why. Like I'm starting to get a little bit better about it. But the IX, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What number are you?
I'm trying to think of, like, a good way to remember that x is 10, and I don't have one.
My brain's trying to come up with like an excellent
I know.
joke.
I'm
Like I
like,
can't quite get there. I'll workshop it.
samesies.
It's fine.
Listeners, if you can think of anything, please email. Let
It
us
can't be
know.
excellent because I've already thought of it and it's terrible and I don't like it.
That's
So,
better than what I came up with, which was absolutely nothing. I came up with nothing.
I mean, I feel like that's better than what I was thinking, anyways. Like, I should not have had a thought in my head and it would have been better than excellent.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
So Frank wants
Anyways,
to plan a party, but he only wants to invite 5 couples, and everyone's like, "That is absurdly small. You cannot do that." And Frank's like, "But those are all the people I want there." But for some reason, he includes Jane, the girl he likes to bully, in that 10 couples, and I'm like, "Why do you want her there if you're just mean to her the whole time?"
I don't get that, but, like, I don't know. Like we've talked about, some of these characters, it's not easy to understand their intentions.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we'll like discover what their past was soon.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. Um, Mr. Woodhouse, though, does not like Frank. He fully states in this one that he's like, "Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that dude." And Emma's still like, but he's not terrible. And I'm like, "No, Emma, he is terrible. Please. For the love of God. He's
Is
awful."
the worst.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah. And so he decided he wants to have this at the Crown Inn. And I think the Crown Inn is honestly supposed to be like a halfway decent place. But the way Emma describes this, you would think it was a motel. Like she's like, it's dusty and dingy and moldy and gross, and the hallways are
Yeah,
breezy and drafty. We are not having a dance at the Crown Inn. And I just think
because
it's
again, like, these are things that she considers beneath her,
yeah.
right? So, because she's great.
She's apparently the best and the epitome of class. This is how I
Sorry.
feel like if you told someone that their renter car was a 2006 Honda Civic when their Tesla broke, that's how I feel like this conversation goes. You're like gasoline and my Tesla home, my smart
How
home.
dare you?
This car can't even connect to Wi-Fi. Why does it not have a backup camera? Where's the
We could
iPad
also, like,
console?
my husband has a brand new Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, brand new Jeep, but he got the basic model, so it doesn't have automatic anything. So no automatic windows, no automatic doors, locks, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's constantly like, "How is this equally the oldest car and the youngest car?" And I'm like, "Should have paid for those extra little upgrades.
The roll
You
down
got all
windows.
the, like, really cool stickers on your Jeep. Wasn't that fun?"
A Jeep. The Jeep's biggest problem is they're like, yeah, it's the most expensive car, but also here's roll down windows. Best of luck.
Yeah, good luck. Remember when you used to have to use your key for everything? We're bringing it back. Nobody asked you to bring it back. Pretty sure.
I like that the idea. They're like, yeah, you can take the doors off, but also we don't believe in keyless entry.
Keyless entry is a really nice way to describe it. Yeah.
So, yeah, Emma's like, no, not doing that. Then we're on to chapter 30. Frank was apparently approved to stay in town longer. JK, he's not. He's going back today. Don't know what happened there, but he was like, yeah, I'm approved. Suddenly, I actually have to leave.
Bye.
Bye. So, then like they're having this alone conversation, and I was like, oh my god, I think he would have proposed had we not been cut off. So she's like, thank God we were cut off. But he was
Why
like
do you
trying.
think everyone's gonna propose?
I don't know. The girl's got trauma. Okay.
This is like the problem with some of these like older novels is it's like everybody's obsessed with getting married, and I feel like as a society, women have kind of moved past that.
Hmm.
And we have other ambitions now. So it's like one of the only things that I think is like kind of frustrating about some of these older books is it's just like, yeah, but like you could do other things with your
Hmm.
life if you wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. But she's like,
Right.
he could have proposed. But she's like, I also still don't want to get married. So
She wants to be desirable, but she doesn't actually want to be involved.
low key pick me energy, but it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
So then we're on to chapter 31, in which Emma, because she kind of misses Frank, is like, am I in love with him?
Please don't be. Frank is a douche nugget, all right? Like, just leave him out of it.
And
He's
then
the
she
worst.
says she's decided that even if he comes back, uh, she's not going to encourage him. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, but like, you still don't know if he even likes you. Like, no one else has cooperated this at all. She's the only one that thinks he likes
Well, and I mean, same as lots of other things that Emma has completely fabricated, and everybody else is like, that doesn't exist, and she's like, yeah,
her. Yeah.
no, it doesn't.
Nope. And everyone's talking about Mr. Elton's wedding again. And Emma's not too happy about this because now she's like, this causes me pain and suffering. So
Yeah,
he's not allowed to be happy. And then we're on to chapter
but he
30.
should be allowed to be happy.
Yeah, even though this guy's kind of like weird and gives me weird energy, like, why can't he just be married and not be focused on you anymore?
Right, because the world revolves around our girl. Just
Yeah,
don't tell anybody else.
truly, though. So, chapter 32. She is like she's basically reliving this Mr. Ellen mess a bit, and she's like,
A little bit.
every time she walks in the room, she goes, oh my god, this is the room where he said that he loved me. This is weird. And this is the room where I drew that painting of Harriet. This is weird. I'm like, yeah, girl, this is your house. Like,
There's
what?
gonna be memories everywhere.
Literally. Like, you also probably grew up in this room, so I'm not really sure why this is like stained now.
Stained.
All you need is a little bleach, and this place will look good as new, okay? Don't worry about it.
No, we must redo the whole room. We got to feng shui this out.
Just switch some of the chairs, you'll be fine. So Harriet like kind of talks all nice about Augusta Elton, um, and Emma was like just talking mad trash in her head about her, and Harriet's
Oh,
like,
because Emma is always talking trash.
yeah, it's so good.
Always talking trash.
It is so funny though because it's like Emma will be like, this is the like worst person I've ever met ever, and then she'll like say that in her head, and then uh Harriet will be like, oh, she's not that terrible, and Emma will be like, yeah, actually she's not that bad, like out loud.
Right. But is
So
she that
yeah,
bad?
maybe a little bit. I don't
Maybe a
know.
little bit. Who knows? Who cares? Ha 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 ha.
But okay, so then Elton's wife keeps showing up to like Emma's house and just like
Mm-hmm.
steamrolling the conversation for some reason and like trying to make Emma her best
Again,
friend.
it's one of those people that like can't handle silences, and so they're constantly like just talking.
Mhm. Yeah. And then she like does a lot of like, oh, are we like the besties ever? Like coolest people alive? And I was like, I just met you like 5 minutes ago. What are you even talking about right now?
Nothing.
And then they finally leave, and I was like, yeah, I hate this bitch. And Mr. Woodhouse is like, she seemed fine, I guess.
Because, like, they have issues and they don't discuss their issues. And some people, like, talk smack. Like we talked
Mhm.
about earlier, some people are talking smack and some people are like, yeah, let's get in on it. And then some people are like, yeah, no, I don't like tea. Bye.
Literally. And then we are on to chapter 32. Uh, Mrs. Elton just suddenly becomes cold and distant with Emma when she starts becoming friends with Jane. And I'm like, what do you know?
What
What
do you
do you
know?
know?
What do you know?
Well, because it's like one of two things. Either Jane has said something about Emma, or Jane revealed to Mrs. Elton what happened with Frank, and that Frank and Emma are best friends. So those are my two
Um,
options.
I mean, you're not wrong, but you're not right.
We'll find out soon, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not giving anything away. You're new to this story. I'm not ruining it for you.
Third option, actually, just throw it out
Or
there, is that she found out that Mr. Elton proposed to Emma like 3 days before he married her.
right, which would be a little frustrating.
Yeah, and I would not
That
blame
would be a
her.
little like, wait,
Yeah,
what?
I'd be like, this dude was literally talking to me and we just got married and you're telling me that like
A
he
week ago,
proposed
he
to
was
her.
obsessed with you.
Yeah, I'd also be like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, kind of weird.
I mean, it is weird.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, it's weird.
I'd be pretty peeved if I was Augusta, to be honest. So Jane Fairfax has once again been invited to Ireland. She has once again declined. And Emma's like, seems suspicious. And then she also, it's like, decides to get it out in the open with Mr. Knightley. And it's like, so do you have a crush on Jane? And Mr. Knightley was like, one, I think she would decline me if I asked. And two, I'm never going to ask. So there you have
Which
it.
is really sad.
Yeah.
Like the way he says that is, I'm not going to ask because she can't tell me no if I don't ask.
Yeah.
And that, like, that makes me really sad.
I know. And like, for some reason, to Emma, that's all the answer she needs. But I'm like, does that mean he likes her or doesn't it? Because that's not an answer.
It's not an answer. It's not a good enough answer that it leads anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough for her because she doesn't get any information out of it.
hmm Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. But those are our chapters. I'm really
You
into
don't
this
know how
book.
to. I'm so glad that you like it.
So good. There's so much gossip and so much tea. So much shade being thrown. So good.
That's funny. Well, thank you for having me. I always love
Yeah.
being here.
Thank you for coming. Where can all the people on the internet find you between our episodes?
So you can find me everywhere at Bethany Finger Author, and you can find the Prince Kai Fan Pod everywhere at Prince Kai Fan Pod.
Yeah, and we'll catch you guys next week where maybe I roast more Frank. I don't know if he's coming back or what's happening there, but I look forward to talking about it. So we'll catch you guys later. Bye. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Barely Bookish podcast. If you want to find me, I am at Barely Bookish on literally everything. I am available wherever. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, technically Facebook, but basically it's just Instagram times two, Twitter, and all that good fun stuff. I'm also over on Twitch, so if you like writing sprints, I try and do those pretty often, so check that out. But yeah, we were going to be continuing talking about Emma this week, or next week, so keep on listening and keep on reading for more Emma. And yeah, I will catch you all next week in the very next episode. Our logo is designed by my little sibling Sarah. Our theme song is by Raphael Crux, and I'll catch you all later. Bye!